Because, I've always been a positive person. So I thought being a positive light meant you can't be negative. You can't have these moments where you're shut down. I'm a light to everybody else, but it's the darkness, it's the fucking darkness that has helped me become the light.
Hey my friend, how you doing? This is Sasha and you're listening to Enlivened.
Welcome everybody. Today we have a very, very special guest. We have Jen Stillion, aka Jen Unicorn, aka so many other things. And I'm so excited to have her on the podcast because she's going to infuse her light in your living room, in the gym, in your car, wherever you are today. Get ready for a lot of beautiful energy. So welcome, Jen.
Thank you. Woo-hoo.
I know for you, there's a lot about abundance and joy. So can you tell us a little bit more specifically in your words, what does that mean for you? What is abundance?
Well, abundance to me, well, first of all, I have been, performing and dancing my whole life, and I was never a trained dancer. I danced before I walked. It's just, I was born with it. I love to move. Dancing is not just about movement. It's about expressing all of life, right? And recently, I say within the last year, abundance, we all know what the word is. I never realized that the word dance was in abundance. And it's like staring right at our face, like hello. And it just hit me. Like I just got this download. I was like, oh my gosh, this is what abundance, this is what encompasses when you are dancing. And the thing is that it doesn't matter if you're a good dancer or not, it has nothing to do with that. Every single one of us has danced one time in our lives, right? Like at a wedding or a club or a party, your friends push you out on the dance floor. And I have a saying, who you are on the dance floor is who you are in life. So are you the first person that shows up on the dance floor? Are you the first person that needs to, do you need the attention? Are you somebody who kind of has to have a few cocktails to take the edge off because it's not about dancing, it's about confidence and vulnerability, right? Are you somebody who has to go with your friends and stay in your circle of friends and kind of hide, but you are moving? But anyways, all of this to say is that this encompasses what abundance is and how abundance relating to dance, the metaphor of dance, metaphorically or physically, is that dancing and abundance is the full expression of both.
That's actually so profound. It's so simple, but it's really profound. I want to know, and this is me being very curious, but I feel like a lot of people are going to have this question. What do you say to somebody who feels as though they can't show up with full freedom, with full authenticity, or they might be that person at the wedding that needs a few cocktails before they get the confidence to dance?
What do I say? I say to that person that, perhaps vulnerability is scary for you. And perhaps somewhere along the way, we can easily point our fingers to our childhood. We all got shit from our childhood. Let's just say it, okay? But it's our responsibility as we get older into adulthood to change all that, to reprogram ourselves, right?
Oh, yeah.
The vulnerability has been, for me, the message that I got was not a superpower. It was a weakness. So God forbid, if you are showing your feelings and vulnerable about the things that are going on in your life and being real with yourself, you can't show those things because that means that you are weak or that means you're not loved. So when you have those messages and growing up as an adult, when it comes to stepping out of your comfort zone or going into the dance floor of life, you got all this shit, right? You're like, I'm stuck in these stories. I can't do it. It's too hard. I don't want people to fully see me because dancing is the most vulnerable form of movement. Why? Because you're showing your whole body. You're showing your whole fucking self. And so people are like, oh my God, and then they say things like, I can't dance. I can't move like you can't. But what you're really saying is that you are allowing others to validate you, and you're afraid of being judged, no matter if you do the robot or not, you know?
Right. I love this so much. And your word vulnerability, I have seen you show up and be the most authentic embodiment of it. It might sound to the listener, like abundance, joy, great, unicorns, but it takes so much work to be in that authenticity, which means vulnerability. So for you, when did it happen? Like, when did you click out? Because you did say you grew up thinking vulnerability is not a superpower. And then you realized that it was. So what was that moment, that turning point, or maybe it was over a period of time? What helped you reframe vulnerability into a superpower?
Oh gosh, I would say, well, it is overexpand of my life for sure. But I say there was a pivotal moment. We're going to go a little deep. Are you ready?
Please.
Let's go to the deeps. I would say about 7 years ago, and I was fully aware of this. I started my, let's just say, personal development journey. Let's just use that language. I would say maybe 12, 13 years ago. Because in my 20s, my late 20s, I was like, things are not happening. What the hell is happening? I am broke. I'm exhausted. So that's when it started to begin. And as I was starting to work on myself, I met my husband, my soulmate. I attracted him into my life. And what came with my husband was his daughter. And she was 9 at the time when I met her. And she's 22 now, just to give you some context. So I've been a stepmom for all those years. And there was a time in our lives, in our period of our lives, I would say about 6 or 7 years ago, where, she, at a very early age, she was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. And then she went from, cutting herself to all the worst nightmare things that a parent can go through. Our child went through this, and then she ended up, trying to commit suicide and was in and out of institutions. So living in that kind of environment, trying to save this young girl's life, and dealing with her personality disorder, which is somebody who goes from 0 to 10 in 2 seconds. It's volatile, it's insane, turned our whole life upside down. Everything was suffering, our finances, our business, everything. So there was a moment where I was completely out of my power and completely giving myself so much to this girl, to my husband, that I lost my identity in the process. I lost myself. And I remember there was a moment where I was in my closet taking shots of vodka because I was avoiding the pain. I was avoiding the vulnerability. I didn't want to own up to the fact that this was fucking hard and I was feeling so much stuff. And I've always, I'm the oldest of 4. I don't know what that means, but I've always been the caretaker and the person who puts everybody first before myself. And I was doing the same thing, being codependent with my husband and with my daughter. And there was a moment in that closet where I was like, I have a choice here. What is it costing me by putting everybody first and not myself? What's costing me everything? And so that's when I chose to open up to my friends and families, be vulnerable, cry, get completely out of my comfort zone. And that's when the healing started to begin. And that's when I realized the more real I was with the situation. Because, I've always been a positive person. So I thought being a positive light meant you can't be negative. You can't have these moments where you're shut down. I'm a light to everybody else, but it's the darkness. It's the fucking darkness that has helped me become the light. You have to have both, right? So that's when I really came face to face to vulnerability. And I realized over time that this is a freaking superpower.
Yeah. You just gave me chills. You're amazing. I just want to say that, number one.
Oh.
You tapped on a few points that I would like to go even deeper with.
Okay.
Number one, I love the fact that you're sharing so abundantly, generously with us, and you're telling us the truth. I've seen you share the truth no matter what, even if it's awkward, uncomfortable, you say the truth. You say it in this room, you say it in that room, you say it all the time. And I'm sure you say it in your personal life too. Because I've seen that time and time again with you. And I want to thank you for that.
Mhm.
Another thing I've noticed is that you said you were in that closet. It's almost like you got that self-awareness. Like, this is not sustainable. Like, I can't keep numbing this. Like, I can, but what's the result? Nothing is going to come out of this. So then that's like, it's almost like sometimes we hit that rock bottom and it bounces us back. It's like the thing we feared the most is here. And we're like, oh, I'm still okay. Like, I can choose something else. So another thing that you mentioned is that you're oldest of four. As I'm the oldest in my family too. My husband is also the oldest. We have a few theories on this. I'm also curious, what's your Enneagram?
Enneagram. Oh, I'm type 2.
I was going to say, that's really resonating with the caretaker, the like.
Type 2, wing 3. Yeah.
Wing 3. Okay. And then you also have maybe this is me projecting, but you have some 7. You have some 7.
What is 7 again?
7. Joy, this free spirit, like super bright, wants to travel and try new things all the time. So I really could feel you and see you in the Enneagram. I was like, yeah, she's gonna say 2. I can feel that.
Ooh, look at this.
I love that. But
and I also want to. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
No, I was gonna say my husband is the oldest of 4 as well.
Wow, that's really interesting. Oh, that's so interesting. Wait, can I ask you a personal question? I feel like you've said this to me before, but I'm forgetting. Did you say to me that you were a grandma?
I'm a grandma, you guys.
By the way, for the people who are listening on the podcast, when Jen said this to me, like I even now had to ask you because I almost don't believe it. Like, you've said this to me, I think 3 times. You are, and no offense to other grandmas out there, but you're the hottest grandma seen in the history of the universe. And maybe that has to do with the spirit that I feel coming from you, or maybe it has to do with your abundance. But there's definitely an energy of warmth and youth coming from you that I just can't believe you're a grandma. But I mean, you're telling me, I believe you, you know. So, you know, there's definitely something about being vulnerable, being real, being self-expressed that's keeping you alive. And this podcast is called Enlivened. That means coming alive, like coming alive. And I want to ask you, what does it take for Jen, this vulnerable badass, this powerhouse that you are? What does it take for you to get to that place of being the most enlivened, the most on, the most you? What do you need to thrive?
Oh, I love this question. It's simple. And it took me a long time to figure this out. And I know you're going to resonate with me. I'm a rebel at heart. I want to break all the rules. I have resisted structure and the word discipline. I don't like the big D. I call it devotion. That helps me stay devoted. The big D. But honestly, it's as simple as this. When I'm committed to myself, showing up for my workouts, showing up to the daily ordinary things, my workouts, doing my I call DSP, daily spiritual practice, which is, I have a daily spiritual practice that I do. When I do the daily ordinary things, as we learned, doing something ordinary, the daily ordinary things, do it extraordinarily well. We just learned that, right? That is what that is what livens me up. When I'm looking back and going, holy crap, I am showing up for myself in such a big way. I'm committed, I'm consistent, I'm in integrity. And those were the words that I resisted for so long because it was icky to me. Because not my husband. Oh, I just said my husband. That was weird. My dad. That was weird. Where did that come from? My dad was his identity was about discipline, and his whole jam since I was a little kid. Wake up at 3:30 in the morning, do his hour workout 4:30 in the morning every single day. Now he's in his 70s, still works out, still has the same routine.
Wow.
Very like opposite of me, like type A and structure, but he was unhappy and it was not fun. And, you know, I'm all about the fun. So I got this message that being disciplined and structured is not fun. So why would I do it?
Oh my gosh. Okay. We need to dive into this. And this is actually a question that I had. So I love that you went there.
Yes.
I love that you went there because this is something that I'm a baby in. Like this is like a fresh new toy, which is structure and discipline in my life. And it's been since 2020. Like that's that recent. I want to talk about the person who's listening right now, who's like probably like a version of us in the past where she or he is listening and they're like, no, but I'm free flow. I don't want to be micromanaged. I don't want my calendar to tell me what to do. I want to do what I want when I want, blah, 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 blah. And meanwhile, they're losing control of their life, but they're not realizing that. So I want to understand, well, let's chat a little bit about how you went from I'm a free-flowing fun person to discipline is not fun. Like I have to choose between one or the other. So how did you integrate the fun into the structured discipline? Like how did that happen? And how can somebody start to do that?
Okay. Yeah, this is really good. And I feel like I'm still in the new category, new to intermediate. It's been about a year and a half since I've entered into this like new way of being. And there's been messy times. There's been times where I've fallen off. It's a practice. So it's not like it's going to happen overnight, because this is something I realized I had to go back to. Where did this all come from? Okay. So my dad, I see this model. This is my dad, but I'm not my dad. So I had to figure out and do it the Jen way. I was like, what is the Jen way? Like, what is my way? I don't want to follow these other inspirational people. They have their own way, but I had to figure out what works for me and what's going to be. So it was all trial and error. And I was like, does it work putting it in the calendar? Do I need to have it up? Do I need to put it digitally? Does it work for me? And I'm a writer. Like I like to write on journals. People like to type. That's me. So I was like, okay. So, and I also had to, it was so uncomfortable and foreign to me. And I just had to tell myself, get over it. Like just move. I say move it. That's just because I'm a mover. Just move past those thoughts. Just show up. And I started with one thing, like just one thing to be committed to. Like, this is the one thing. Don't do all the things. I know there's like apps that say commit to 3 things a day. I'm like, no, that did not work for me. One thing. I know.
I love that. I mean, like, almost every single thing you just said, I was like, that's exactly how I had to do it too. Except I also thought I was a calendar, like writing thing, but it turns out the digital is way better for me. So yeah. I want to actually go there. Did you have a lot of trial and error? Like did you try the app, obviously to commit to 3, you tried the physical calendar, you tried the digital, but like at one point, did you ask yourself, am I just creating resistance with myself? Am I resisting the implementation of a calendar, of structure? Or am I just genuinely like not clicking with any of this? Because at some point, of course, it's not familiar. We're introducing something new, right? So when did you realize it didn't work? And how did you finally decide? How did you have the awareness that, okay, this is what I need. This actually works. Like this handwritten calendar is the thing that's going to work for me.
Yeah, I definitely got into the overthinking, and I was like, oh, this is a distraction. You're distracting yourself. Just choose one. I was like, just choose one, bitch. I love you, but just freaking choose one and stick with it. So with me, I had to just choose one and stick with it for 30 days. I'm like, let's see if this is going to work. So that's what I did.
30 days. I think that's so helpful that you just said that, because that makes it's like containing, as opposed to just like, oh, let's just let it roll on, and if it doesn't work, whatever. So just sorry, keep going, please.
No. And then I landed on, I don't have it with me. I can show you. I have a 90 day, not a year planner. The 90-day X. And planners, oh my God, I resisted those for like many years. Oh, I have journals, a zillion journals. Planners, I'm like, hell no. But I found something, it's visual, it's tangible. It's like my Bible. The way it's structured, it's so great for my brain because it really breaks it down, and I can see it every morning and every night. I can track my wins. It gets into the woo-woo too, which is so great. So it's really fun. It's like, for me, it makes it fun. It's already created for me, and it's right there. And I just because I have to like think like I'm a detailed person. Yes, I'm a visionary, but I have to think the next 90 days. That to break it down for me simplifies it for me, especially when it comes to commitment. I'm like, what is it going to be? How am I going to make this easy? Easy was my word.
Yeah, I love, yes. Oh my gosh. I love, there's so many little things that I didn't know about you that I'm like, I agree. Like, I have to let this be easy. Can I just let this be easy? But it's also letting it be easy for my future self. So I can't let my present self fuck up my future self, you know?
Yeah.
So I love that. I think that 90-day planner, 90-day X, probably somebody listening to this are like, what is this? I need to get my hands on it. Like maybe Jen needs to be a sponsor for this. I don't know. This is not sponsored, but we're open to it. So is that something that you can get just online? Like
it's on Amazon. And ultimately you just got to find out what works best for you. I tried the visual calendar. That doesn't work for me. You know, I do put some things in the schedule with alarms, but ultimately I like a book. I like saying it. I like my own writing.
Yeah, and whatever works, right? At the end of the day, like it's like finding that thing that works for you. For a long time, I actually had some limiting beliefs. By the way, this is so important. We're talking discipline, but it's like the most important thing. I did all of the courses and all that for a long time, and I imbibed the information, but it's like I couldn't really implement the information because my life, my environment wasn't set up for me to actually move forward. I didn't have a system for my life. I didn't have a calendar. I didn't have a routine. I didn't have any structure whatsoever. It was more like whatever I need to do today. Like, oh, my laundry is piling up. I need to do it. Like I was always last minuting my life.
Yes, me too. And so I had to find a happy medium. I was like, how can I become this new person of who's structured, but still honor the rebellious Jen? And so I just go along with the 7-day a week plan. I know it's up for us. It's how we, how human beings, how we set up our lives. I'm like, let's just see what would it look like for 5 days a week. And really Monday through Friday afternoon, I am so committed to my structure, to my routine. After Friday noon, I'm like, I'm partying. Yeah. I kind of just let go. I have nothing in the calendar. I let go. I honor that part of me Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday afternoon. That's when I start planning for this is one thing that's been a game changer for me. I plan for the week. I sit down and I love it. And now I know exactly because I need something ready to go. I show up Monday. I'm like, oh, I know exactly what to do because it brings clarity. It brings, that's the power in the clarity. And now I'm not like waving my hands and going, what the hell am I going to do today? I know what to do.
I could just scream because for a long time I heard people talking about this on podcasts, or like, the big, people call it bro marketing people or whatever, like the bro vibe, like do this hardcore. Yeah. Plan your week. And I was like, yeah, that does not work for me. And then I was like, I just need to flow in my feminine. Meanwhile, not realizing that actually I needed to implement a lot of structure. So I love what you say about like that Sunday. It's almost like the biological clock. Women like want to get babies. It's like you have a biological clock to plan your week because it really does bring clarity. Now, I want to bust my previous limiting belief. This is something I've actually transcended, but for the person listening to this right now, that's like, yeah, that's great for you, but like I have like 4 kids and like my life is really unexpected. My boss calls me at any time of the day and I need to be ready. Or what if I go and I plan this, but then I need to exchange it because it's not the right thing? What do you say to that person? Like, how you can't possibly plan for every single minute of every day, but that's of course. So what would you say to them for them to take that, that moment of I can't plan because life comes at me so fast? What would you say would be a nice transition to them, like so they can get more control over their life a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, it's first of all, it's like obviously all of us are committed to brushing our teeth, right? Like we brush our teeth, we know we have to do it. We don't even question it. It's already done, right? So whatever you commit yourself to, whatever is a priority, you will show up. So let's just say workouts. Let's just make it easy. You're like, okay, I want to start working out 4 days a week. Let's put it in my calendar. That time for yourself is uninterrupted, and you schedule it around everything else. And there's no stories. There's no ifs, there's no excuses. You are showing up for yourself, because what you're doing, it's not about the workouts, right? It's about you are showing up, you're carving time for you, because you're realizing you are priority before everybody else. It's all the self-worth issues.
Yeah.
So you can create your schedule, but yeah, life does show up and things do happen. But how much of that is excuses, and how much of that is what is it? Those things can hold you back. That's all I'm going to say. And yeah, you can be the busiest person on the planet, but that's a choice.
Right.
That's a choice. It's all choices.
I was that person that was like, you don't understand my life. Like, thinking that I'm the only person in the universe that has an unpredictable schedule. And then thinking that, like no other person in the universe ever had to figure this out. And then also thinking that there was no possible way in the universe that I could affect change in my life. Like, I did not know. I felt so overwhelmed, out of control, did not know what to do first. Oh my God, I have so many ideas. I just could not implement because I had no control over my time, control over my energy. I didn't know what to prioritize. I literally hired someone, quite a bit of money, just to tell me. I was like, I don't know how to prioritize. And right now I'm like, oh, come on, little girl. Like, you just didn't know your values, and it's okay. So
values, yes, that's what it is. You're honoring your values and you prioritize, because the thing is, if you're a mom and you have 5 kids, you show up for your kids no matter what. You show up 101%. You drop everything you're doing to show up for them and take care of them. So can you imagine if you did that for yourself times 10? Got to reverse it.
So I'm like tenfold on this. So why is it important for us to take care of ourselves, in your opinion? Because I could go on for like 10 hours on this, but why do you think, Jen, that it's important for us to take the most care of ourselves first?
Oh my gosh, you've opened up like a whole thing. Like, I can talk about this
go
for like an hour.
Go.
I'm like, are you kidding me, girl? What a question. Well, let's just make it simple.
Okay.
You are the energy behind everything you do in your life. You are all of it. So if you wake up and you're grouchy and you are in a bad mood, you bring that energy to the people around you. You bring that energy to your workspace. If you are not choosing to take care of yourself, you're basically showing up like that person and not giving and not being your authentic self. So taking care of you is the most important thing to be, because what is costing you by not making yourself a priority? When you don't make yourself a priority, you're affecting everybody else around you, right? And if you're here to be an example to your children, to impact people's lives in your business, to impact the world and share your gifts and do what you're supposed to do, how are you supposed to do all these things if you are not taking care of you and loving you and showing up as you and being the best version of you? So I can't, and the thing is, a lot of people, they hear this, and as the listener right now, you're nodding your head, you're like, okay, I get this, I know this, I hear this all the time, I see the memes, I see the posts. But there's a difference, as you know, Sacha, there's a difference between understanding and knowing. You can understand this. Like, we can understand a broken arm, right? But I've never broken a bone, so I don't even know what that's like, but I can understand it from afar. Self-care, making yourself a priority, a lot of people may understand it, but they don't know it because they're not making it their way of being, their lifestyle.
Yeah, that you said so many golden nuggets here, and I just want to break it down even more, because this is actually something that, well, you just nailed the last sentence you said that this is not something that, we get it in our minds. We're like, cool, self-care, self-love, prioritizing myself, because all of that is like a concept. It's something that you read about. It's something that you see in Cosmo magazine. Like, I don't even know, Allure or whatever. And it's like, they're like, yeah, take care of yourself, you know, all of those things. And you kind of have an idea of what that means, but then you go to work, you're in your car, somebody cuts you off, you get all mad and you swear, and you let things take you out of your center. And for me, and what I think I understood from you is like, you kind of hold on to your power a little bit longer. You're able to let those things outside of you happen without you getting out of your power, without being thrown off center. You're not thrown way out of alignment if somebody cuts you off. You're not thrown out of alignment if somebody tells you something in a weird tone. You're not thrown out of alignment if they don't have your favorite coffee at Starbucks. Like, you're not thrown out of alignment for something small. It takes a lot to be thrown out of alignment. So I absolutely love that. I think that's a good discernment to make. It's like saying, like, you deserve to be at your most authentic, and that's why you take care of you. And that's why you do the meditation, because you need to get to know yourself. So this is actually a great segue. I actually want to ask you a little bit more about this. It's actually a specific question I wanted to ask, but it segues really nicely. So speaking about showing up authentically and all that, we understand that too as a concept, but we're like, yeah, I'm authentic. Of course, I'm so authentic. Everybody's authentic, right? Everybody thinks we're so authentic. We all do, don't we? But what to you is something that was maybe veiling a little bit of your authenticity? Like, what is a limiting belief that you dissolved that allowed you to just like open the gates to Gen authenticity? Like,
this is a really good question. Really good question. I think, let's see, where do I want to go here with this? You know, being a performer my whole life, like being on stage and singing and dancing and speaking and do all the things, you know, it's a different form of energy, obviously. And you got all the eyeballs looking at you. And it definitely was a way, I believe is a way that I was feeling validated, feeling like I was seen, feeling like I was heard. And I was like, this is the real me. But when I would get off stage, I didn't know, there was like this identity thing. Like, I didn't know who I was. And I would create just being the day-to-day Jen, not the person on stage Jen, because it's like you're a character on stage, obviously. And then I was like, who am I? Am I being the same person, right? And along the way, I discovered that I was creating scenarios like I would basically exaggerate and create drama and lies. You know, I would really beef myself up when someone would ask me, hey, Jen, how was your show? How many people came? And like 50 people would come and I'd be like 500. You know, I would totally, you know, and that's totally a low self-worth issue. But I wasn't being my true authentic self, because I was like, if I really told the truth and if I really was me on and off stage, would I still feel loved? Would I still feel mattered? Would I still be seen and heard and all the self-esteem things? And so that's when, along my journey, that's when I realized that this is like, to be my authentic self, I have to step into vulnerability, I had to admit that I'm being a freaking liar here. And I had to admit it with a group of people. And that's when a layer of authentic, like that's when I really stepped into being authentic and being myself.
There's something that I keep picking up that there's like a pattern with what you're saying, where it's almost like the next level the next version, the next chapter of you comes with accepting the darkness at the level that you're at. It's almost like you get this new awareness of a shadow. Like the shadow is no longer a shadow, because you've got your flashlight like, oh fuck, I lie. I lie because I want to control other people's perception of me.
Yeah.
And that awareness is like, we all do that, but you got that awareness and you're cool with sharing it. And now it makes you a little bit like more expanded. You're seeing this perspective that's like, oh, I've got multifacets inside of me. And you're holding that. That's if somebody's listening to this right now, like this is why I wanted to get to the nitty gritty of this stuff, because in my personal development journey, if we call it that, it was all concepts. Even when I was studying astrology, I was like, this is so fucking fake and shallow. Can we get to the deep stuff? Like, get to the depth and talk about why this matters? Like, I don't want to just talk about it. I don't want to throw words at it. Self-care, self-love. It's like, can we talk about what it feels like? And I think with your example, like, that's the best way to explain what shadow work is, because you're saying, yeah, I lie. Like, do you know how many people, that very little people would be okay saying that, because they don't feel like they can be loved, but it's actually a reality with, I would say, most people. Yet you're one of the few who can admit it. You know, it's I think that's extremely powerful. And I actually remember when you did a Facebook Live on that, I was like one of the lucky people who saw that. And I think every single person who saw it was changed forever after that. Like Tony Robbins has nothing on you. That was so good. And I'm just like, I watched it so many times. You have a specific way of delivering messages. You come in like, I don't want to say cute, but you're so beautiful and you're so like, your energy is so warm, and yet you deliver deep, ancient truths that just like hits your DNA and just like, what? Like, what is this thing coming at me? What is this energy that is Jen, you know? And you have this beautiful combination of joy and beauty and you know, sexiness, plus that raw, hardcore truth. And it's just a really great mixture for our world. And I just want to thank you for that. I'm so lucky to have you in my life. So thank you.
Oh, Sacha, back at you. My gosh. You can feel all warm and fuzzy.
Oh, sorry. That's how you make
No,
me.
I love it. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
You're very welcome. But if anybody's listening right now and they're like hearing these words, I'm not just buttering up Jen. Like, I'm just sharing her with you. And I want you to also, the listener, see this duality within yourself, where you can also be multiple things at once. You can be, and whenever you allow, I think whenever we allow ourselves to be multidimensional, that's when we're like real. That's when we're like, hey, I'm not just like, haha, sunshine, blah, blah, blah. Also badass as fuck, and I have a structure. I go to the gym, and I can drop down into like this sage wisdom kind of persona. So just to go on this, after I buttered you up, I want to ask you some like deepest fuck questions just to finish on, and I think that this is going to be really interesting. So what, if you have, what is your favorite book? And you are allowed to say up to 3 books if you can't pick one.
Ooh. Okay, Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert.
Yeah, so good.
I love me some Jen Sincero. She's one of my favorites. You're a badass. You're a badass with money. I took her training program. I freaking love her. She just, her humor resonates with me.
So funny. I could totally see us 3 having a really good time. Like,
oh my gosh.
Yes.
A third one. Maybe the 4 Agreements.
Another thing that I want to ask is, do you feel, because I believe our purpose truly changes in life. I really believe our purpose evolves as we evolve, because we become we become more equipped. We have more tools in our toolbox. The older, the more evolved we get, the more perspective we get. But I truly believe also that we came to Earth with a specific DNA code, a specific little seed that's like supposed to kind of grow and unfold if we let it. And I truly believe that all of us have a very unique thing we're kind of not supposed to do, but like we feel it inside. Like if somebody tries to take me away from this thing, I'm not happy. Like, it hurts my being. I have to do this thing. That's like what I'm meant to contribute. What is that thing for you, Jen? Like, what is that thing that you want to give to the earth because you're not going to be here forever in this body, in this suit. Like in this lifetime, what do you want to give to the earth?
Oh my goodness. This question, woo! I'm like, do you know how many things I want to give?
No,
one? Oh goodness, go SACHA. Okay.
But just right now, like in this season, in this evolution, because you're going to probably go into your next evolution in like a month, 2 months, 3 months. I don't know how often like you feel those, those nervous system shifts that just like fucking rock your world. For me, I'm like, maybe every 3 months, it's like a completely different version. It's like I'm seeing the world differently. So right now, like for example, in this little state, this little moment, this 2020 Jen, what do you feel is the best contribution? Like, what do you want to contribute?
I really want to, I can't express enough the message of being in your power and what that means. And I call it the abundance power movement, because when you step into your power, you uncover so many things that you were giving energy to that did not serve your highest good, relationships, everything. When you step into your power, you watch out, because that's when the abundance start to flow into your life. You are being in your power with your whole entire life. And there's so much to uncover with this, but your abundance power has everything to do with, it's a reflection of how you see and feel about yourself. And a lot of us, especially women, we have no idea, we have no clue what we're capable of. Like I feel like I'm at the tip of the iceberg, because the possibilities is endless. And so we see who we want to be, right? We want the money, we want, the awesome career, we want to impact a lot of lives, we want to be an awesome parent, we want all these things.
Yeah.
But until you really dial in who you are, like you said, how you came into this planet without overthinking, and really get to the point where I'm in the point right now in my process where I literally don't freaking care what others think about me anymore, because I used to feel validated by other people, and I'm free of that now. I'm like, I don't fucking care.
Yeah, it's like I have shit to do. Like, I don't care what you think.
Yeah.
I love that. I want to actually go a little bit deeper on that as well. Like I keep saying, I just want to go a little deeper. I want to go deeper on everything. So it's so fucking important to not care what Joe Schmo says, because like, you're not here to maybe impact him. You're here to impact certain people. And those people are not just going to pop up. You're not going to wake up one morning, they're on your front door. Those are not the right people. I mean, like, if you have that, that's another issue. But I find that our people can only see us. The people who need to hear our message, the people that need to hear abundance, power, movement stuff, they can only possibly hear it whenever you are strong, whenever you are well resourced, whenever you are enlivened. And you're only enlivened when you're plugged into that truth within you. Right? So when you're worrying about controlling other people's perception of you, you're delivering this. It's like aesthetic. It's not real. It's like this synthetic. That's the word I should have said. It's like this synthetic thing. So everything stays kind of on the surface, and it stays deep. And it's like, we're not connected to real. No fulfillment can come through, and no realness can get communicated to others. It's like, you're not only not helping yourself, but your message isn't touching the hearts of others, because you are not in your heart.
Yep.
So for you, I think I'm hearing you say that abundance, it's almost like authenticity. It's like abundance is authentic. Am I getting that right? Or do you want to?
Yeah, that's what it is. And when people hear the word abundance, I mean, it's fullness, right? It's fullness. We know what it's like to go out in nature and it's abundant. It's like, oh, it's abundant here. It's fullness, but it's more than, when people hear abundance, I want to be abundant. So what they're saying is like, I want more money in my life. They associate it with money. Yes, that's part of it. One part, tiny part. Abundance is every aspect of your life. And it's fullness, it's being authentic. It's really getting out of your way working through all of the shit. And I'm going to touch base on control for a second here. I'm going on a tangent.
I just wrote that down. That's
okay. So what I've learned from my mentor and coach, and I know you've learned this too, Sacha, is that control is an illusion. It does not fucking exist. The thing, what we do, the reason why people are entertaining stress and anxiety, because stress and anxiety is attached to control. So what happens is people live in the future. They're afraid what's going to happen 2 seconds from now, or they're attached to what happened yesterday.
right.
So they're not living in the moment. And so what happens is they get stuck in the future or the past, and they're entertaining these things that don't exist. They're not real. They haven't happened, or the past has already happened, but it's done. Let it go, bitch. And the future hasn't happened yet. So we get caught up in the what if, and we entertain those stories. And I'm like, do you realize you're trying to control something that does not exist? It's a ghost. Mm-hmm. So what you're doing is you're running away from yourself. You're not allowing to be in the moment, like you and I are talking right now and treasuring right now. And that is the abundance power that's within you. Authenticity, being authentic, allowing, trusting. And I know these are just words, but what does that feel like to you? And so I'm telling you, my control freaks, if you're listening, what are you controlling? You can't. The only thing you can control is what goes on between your ears, what goes on in your brain, your thoughts. You can control what's happening inside of you. You can move your thoughts and control what's going on in you. That's it.
That's it. Like your perspective, like how the meaning that you give the thing that happened.
Yeah.
What are you making that mean? I love what you said. And I really wrote control and boundaries, because whenever you're talking abundance, it's like and then you said fullness, which is actually something I think I felt, because abundance has developed in so many abstract feelings for me. Abundance has really taken over. Abundance for me is this ability to be curious and to research what I'm curious about and to become the version of me that I'm curious to know. And then I love when you said fullness. I was just like, oh, it feels so good. It's like a bee going to a flower and just like the flower being full of the pollen, and the bee's like, oh fuck yeah, like that's abundance, you know. I don't want to talk about my way of seeing it. I want to know Jen's way of to go from I can't possibly quit my job, I need to pay for my bills, I'm scared, blah blah blah, to I trust and I am abundant. It's like what is the mindset shift?
Yeah. And I, like you, I struggled with this too. I was like, and it really came down to the stories I had about money, my relationship with money. I grew up with parents who worked hard to the bone and was like, that is your path to receiving abundance. You got to work really, really, really hard. Yeah. But it had nothing to do with that. See, money it's energy, as we know, and it's your relationship with yourself. Has nothing to do with the money, has nothing to do with it. So like you said, the scenario of somebody who's like, I need to pay my bills, but I want to travel. Well, what that person doesn't know, and this is just a fake person, obviously. That person doesn't know is that you are being called to freedom, to discover who you are, to go out and see the world. And that is going to fuel the energy that's behind the money that you have put limits on. See, it's all connected, but for some reason we put money in a box thinking, oh, let's put this over here. But what you don't realize is that it's not the money. You're the person behind the money. So whatever you're telling yourself, if you're saying, I'm going to save every single penny and not spend anything. I'm going to just, use the money just to pay my bills. And oh my gosh, it's all scarcity, right? It's like, I don't have enough. Well, I'm telling you guys, if you keep telling yourself that and giving yourself the messages, you're not going to have enough. Wow. So it's like the same thing with your relationship with your health and your body. It's the same relationship that you have with money. It's all connected. It's not separate. And when it comes to abundance is fullness. So we want to feel full with our relationship with money, but see, you could be, and there's people that I've met in my life who are filthy rich, but they have a broken and dysfunctional marriage.
Oh,
and they're unhappy. So
many people.
Yeah, and they are not
abundant?
abundant. Yeah, they're not abundant.
Exactly. I love this. When I understood that being abundant did not mean being wealthy or rich, like something else popped in my mind. And so I love that you just went there, because abundance is, it doesn't mean that there's no trade-off. Abundance means there's no trade-off. You don't have to trade, like for you when you were explaining the structure and fun. You can have both. That's abundance, because you're not making a trade-off. It's this, and it's discipline and fun. It's money and freedom. It's love and security. I don't know like what else we want to put, but abundance is this feeling of there's no lack. It's like every decision that I make is the right decision, because it's going to lead me into who I need to become. And then we don't have much time left, but I want to ask you one last question, because you tapped onto something and you said you are called to freedom. And you said something like because you need to like become the person that you need to be in order to take care of that thing. I think people, and we both know this, our mentor has taught us this, and we've learned this from other books and whatever, but people have it backwards. Like we think that we need to take care of this first and that first and this first. Like I need to save for 25 years before I can live my dream. And it's kind of backwards. So when you said you're being called to freedom, to solve the thing that you need, that you think that you need to heal first, are you saying that this is, because some people might say, Jen, this is so unresponsible. What do you mean? And I would like to say, because that was me, I was like, that's unresponsible. This woman is on some kind of drugs. You know, she wants me to follow my freedom. No, that's not the responsible thing to do. That's not the logical thing to do. You know, follow your dreams is great, but like, I'm in the real world. I think I would like to know what you think. Like, how does someone go from identifying with somebody who is deeply logical, wants to do the right thing, because that's how they've been educated, and that's how their parents taught them, that's how the world tells them they need to be smart and logical. How does a person like that is called to freedom start to transition into freedom? And is that even possible?
Yeah. So the thing is, and I probably should reword it, we are not called to do anything. We are already free. We are already abundant. It's already in our DNA. We came to this planet already abundant and freedom and all of the beautiful things that life has to offer. We have gotten in the way. We have blocked the freedom that's already within us. For those who are practical and be like, okay, Jen, I have a lot of bills. What the hell are you talking about? All right, start there. Notice what kind of money stories do you have? And that's where the work begins. And that's where the work that I had to begin with, because I knew it was all connected, but I also needed to be responsible and be like, what is the limitations in this? And I had to go through books, and I had to have a coach and help me through this, through the stories. You have the power to work through those blocks and limitations when it comes to your relationship with money. Learn, because I was not, part of me not being in my power, I had the story of somebody who was like, I am bad with money. I don't know how to manage it. My husband will do it. I'm not savvy with it. Well, I changed all of those stories. I didn't feel good enough with money. I did not feel good enough. So with that said, I had to work through that bullshit stories. And now I've become that person. So with that work on yourself, and I realized on my journey, it had nothing to do with money. It had to do with my self-worth. It had to do with the energy I was putting behind money. And once I started to work with that, then the blockage, all the limitations started to crumble down. And then I saw the freedom that I meant to be. I saw the free Jen who I've always been, right?
I love that. You just said so many things that I want to unpack. I don't know why this flood just rushed through my head. As you're working and you're doing this, you're finally taking the time, you're making time to work on yourself. You're making the time to study yourself, right? You found a coach. You decided that you're going to get help. You decide that you're going to invest in the books. Then my question, and this is such a spicy question, I should have kept it at the beginning. I get this I've seen this at more than one. I've seen this at the like high consciousness people that I believe that are like super aware, and I've seen this at like really limited consciousness, like people that maybe are starting or not even started, but they say, so Sasha or Jen, I'm on this journey and I'm doing all the work and I'm, cleaning up the stories, the money stories, but my partner is dragging me down. And I can't possibly do this work because I'm stuck. So it's easy for you, but it's not easy for me because I have to deal with this person in my life. And it might be a spouse, it might be a child, it might be something, but we are externalizing, right? So I want to ask you, because I know you're also married to the love of your life. I'm also, but we're not married to perfect people. But that is a limiting belief, right? It has to do with us. So how can we reframe? Do we need our partner to be a certain way in order for us to change?
No. So first and foremost, what I would say, and this is what I had to say to myself, if I wanted to invest in a program or a coach, because it's an investment, right? Do I need permission? Do you always need permission from your partner to invest in your life? They're your partner. They have their own path. But do you always need to get permission from them to make the decisions for transforming your life? No, right? And that is an excuse. I did it. That is giving your power away. That is holding you back from stepping into the powerful self that you are. You are attached to your partner, relying on what their journey is and feeling like you need to get into the control and feeling like they have to be aligned where you are. Well, you are two individual people. Yes, I understand if you're married, you can be soulmates, but you guys are on completely different paths. And my husband and I are in completely different spiritual paths. And, he's had to deal with, let's use money, for example. He's had to deal with his own limitations and scarcity and like serious limitation. He has a way different energy with money. And I'm like, okay, as long as you're working on it, because that's my boundary, he has to work on it. Because if he doesn't work on it, it's not okay with me. But he has his own way, and I honor his and respect his journey just like he honors mine. And that is the compromise. That is what we talk about. So for those of you who are dealing with this, and this is what I had to say to myself, stop giving your power away and relying on what your partner is saying for the decisions about your fucking life. You don't need his or her decision to invest in yourself. Yes, my husband and I are partners, like with our businesses. Yes, we share an account. It's changing now because I'm getting my own account. I'm doing the things that I need to do for myself because I love him, but I need to do my own thing because the energy that I create for money comes to me. I'm the energy. And so he has his own. And that's how we honor each other. Like, I understand if you want to discuss it with your partner, but ultimately it's your life. It's your path.
Oh, that's so good. I just feel so many people just like pausing and going back like, what? Like, because this is not that fresh in my life, but I definitely had those beliefs. I'm changing, but my partner's not changing. So it's really hard for me to change, or it's not possible, or it's like all of those little monsters are popping up. And I just love that you just kind of just put them back to bed. Like, nope, that's bullshit. That's bullshit. That's bullshit.
It is. And boundaries have nothing to do with your partner. Boundaries have to do with you. So if you feel like your partner is not growing and changing, it's not an ultimatum. You are expressing what you need from the relationship. Because if you are not speaking up and making a boundary, you are falling into the trap of codependency and people pleasing. And that is a block of your abundance journey. I'm just telling you, that's a big block. So stepping into your power and using your voice, I'm giving you permission to do so. I know it's uncomfortable. I know it may be foreign to you, but once you do it and start practicing it, not just with your partner, but with friends and family, holy crap.
Boundaries is, Jen, I could scream like, yeah, because boundaries, and I'm very similar to you. Like I have this like gorgeous husband I'm obsessed with, and like I melt, I just look at him and I melt, but we have very different money. Then when I implemented my boundaries, because I recognized my codependency, I started implementing boundaries, and then I started to not be available for bullshit excuses. And then that actually happened in my marriage, but it happened with friendships as well. And I actually got some feedback from people who didn't have boundaries and didn't know what they were, said something like, you've lost your compassion. Who are you not to care about my problems? Like I'm in need. You need to care about my issues when they're happening. Like, it's like, no, I'm actually taking care of myself and you need to take care of you. Did you have some pushback? And I know this might get personal, so you don't have to say who did it in your life, but did you have some pushback when you implemented boundaries?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Reaction. People react. They get defensive. And the thing is they're making it about them. So, and when you are making boundaries for yourself, and I think that's where it's uncomfortable, because you're like, that's when you can get into the ego part of yourself. You're like, oh, I have no idea. That's why a lot of people don't do boundaries, because they're afraid of how that person's going to react. But it doesn't matter, because you're protecting yourself. And it really goes to show, like, even if it was friends, I'm like, okay, this is where, not with judgment, but this is where they are in life. And this is, if they're reacting to me and, claiming that I'm being mean and like, okay, Jen, whatever, thanks for sharing, but okay, and get really uncomfortable and awkward. I'm like, yeah, this is your stuff. This has nothing to do with me.
Yeah. It's like, I don't even care. Yeah. that's where I got the pushback of you've lost your compassion. It's like, it doesn't hurt. Like, that's my need. Those are my boundaries. And I love when you said, because you gave a very concrete example where you said, as long as you're working on it, I don't need you to be anywhere. I don't need you to be at a specific level with your money story. I just need to know you're working on it.
Yeah.
You might even surpass me. You might even be so abundant that I have to learn from you. It doesn't matter where you're at.
Yeah.
Like, as long as you're working on it, as long as you're prioritizing this thing. And I think that that's such a beautiful boundary. And I think that that's a beautiful way to end our talk. But I think everybody right now is probably dying to know how to get in touch with you. Like, what is this beautiful lady that's spewing this beautiful wisdom? Like, how can people get in touch with you? And if you have something going on right now, how can we support you?
Oh, I love that. Well, for right now, my website is going on full under construction. I'm so excited.
Woo!
I don't know if the old one is up. It might be, but let's just say I live on Instagram. So you can find me on Instagram. It's Jen Stillion, rhymes with million, really easy spelling. For right now. And yeah, come visit me. I do have a podcast. It's an Abundance Life podcast. So
I'm going to link everything below for everybody asking. So perfect. So we can find you on the podcast and on Instagram. Guys, you need to follow Jen. Like, I don't say need often, but you need to follow Jen just for the wisdom and the happiness. It's literally so much better than watching Netflix, because it's fun and it's nourishing. It's like infotainment, and I think that whenever we're in this world of social media, Instagram, we're going to scroll. People are going to scroll. But if we can learn a little something while we're scrolling, you just nailed it. You've just matched a habit with learning. So bring yourself. So if you're going to scroll to Jen's page. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. And I hope that you have a great day. Bye-bye.
Yay, thank you, Sacha.